podcast, and this is the first podcast for 2023. And so I'd like to welcome everyone here. If you're a returning viewer, it's great to see you again. If you're a new viewer, welcome. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. Well, first of all, I'll tell you where you can find me. On the internet, you can find me as Bishopstone Yarns on Facebook. You can find me as Bishopstone Yarns on Instagram. I do have a blog on Blogger called Bishopstone Yarns, which I occasionally put things on. And that's probably everywhere you can find me on this. Oh, you can find me on Ravelry as Bishopstone. And at the moment you find me in the corner of my studio, coming to you from Tasmania, which is the little island to the south of Australia. And this is a crafting podcast. I'm mainly knitting. I talk about knitting, spinning, sewing mainly, I guess, and cross-stitching. So there are a few other things that might kind of pop in as well. And I was going to have a look and see, actually maybe I will actually have a look and see what number are we. I should have looked at that before. Are we episode 35? Episode 35 of the Bishopstone Yarns podcast. So I've got my notes over here. I've got my pile of things I'm going to talk about here. And I thought I would just run through, or for those people who saw in December, I went through and just did a recap of what I had made during 2022. And so I thought what I'd do here is just quickly go through some of the things that I'm hoping to get through in 2023. And in 2022, I started, some of the other podcasters had been talking about a 9 along, so 9 things that they wanted to make and do during the year. Some people played it like a bit of a bingo game. Other people just had a list. So I thought I tried that out last year, and I thought that worked really well for me. I found that also one of the things that I found doing this podcast is it's been a great way to be able to try and organize and think about what I'm going to make and what I'm going to try and get through in the year, because usually I don't really stop and think about it. I just kind of would knit something or make something and then move on to the next thing. But my big goal is to try and get through a lot of my stash. So I've got a lot, well, not a lot, but I've got a lot of handspun yarn. And I've also got quite a bit of fleeces as well, so I still have to do a fair bit of spinning. So I want to try and get through as much of my kind of raw fleece as I can, and get through and knit up as much as I can, and also just get a variety of crafting done this year. So I found that by doing this blog, it's really helped me kind of try and organize myself a little bit and think ahead about what I'm going to make and what I'm going to use, and really look at what I've got in my stash or in my studio around the place that I can use. I know that one of the good things was I had actually started using some of my weaving yarns as well to knit a jumper during the year, and so I've also decided to kind of try and use up things that have been sitting around the shelf for quite a long time. But I might get into it. And so I've kind of divided my 9 along into 2 kind of sections, well, 3 sections really. I'm only going to really talk about 2 of them. So the 3 sections at the moment are knitting, cross-stitching and spinning. But my spinning 9 along, or my spinning discussion, I'll keep for my spinning next, the next YouTube episode where I'm going to be doing my spinning. So I'll start with the knitting, and I'll quickly go through what I'm hoping to do. So for those who have been watching me before, you'll know that before Christmas I started a jumper for my husband, and I actually got the entire jumper finished just before Christmas. I was really excited because I thought that would be great because I'd have to give it to him for Christmas, but it turned out that it was too big for him. The sleeves were far too long. I ripped it back and redid the like had raglan shaping and saddle sleeves up here, and even when I did that, it still didn't look right. So I had taken that, I had undone the entire body of the jumper, and so I re-knitted the body of the jumper. I've got the sleeves of the jumper, and I've put it aside for the moment because I haven't decided exactly how I'm going to finish it yet. So this was the initial pattern that I was following, which is Peyton's classic jumper. I don't know if you can see there how it's got a nice, lovely ribbed sleeves, and then up here, where are we? Up on here, you probably can see it better on this side. There's the saddle shoulder. But what ended up was there was too much material here around in this section here to fit my husband. The body was fitting okay, but this bit was, yeah, there was just too much material there, and it was never going to really fit. So what I decided to do, once I kind of took it all back, and I'll have to move everything around here a bit. So I unpicked the whole jumper and then changed the size, sizing, and I just went back and so I've redone the body. The original pattern is a pieced pattern. I have turned this into a circular knitting. I've still got the rib on each side, and so this fits him quite well. So I've done up until under the arms, so I have that bit done. I have so this is the original sleeve with the saddle part still attached to it. So if you could imagine, that was on here, and this bit kind of went up over the shoulder like this. Then you would have the body coming up under here. So what I did was, you have to excuse me, I don't have the other sleeve with me, but I have pulled the other sleeve back to about here. So I've got this enough of the sleeve. So I've got two sleeves and a body, and I'm just going to decide whether or not I'm going to just add the sleeves and knit in the round. I've just lost some stitches off here. Hold on, bear with me for a minute while I just quickly pick up my stitches so I don't lose them. Yes, so whether or not I will end up just adding the body and the sleeve and then doing a raglan decrease for a yoked top, whether or not I will do the same thing by adding the sleeves and then decreasing for a yoke top, but working flat and still having the opening in the jumper, or whether or not I will try something else. I think the easiest thing would be just to add the sleeves on here and then decrease for raglan, decreasing for the sleeves. I'm not sure. I haven't quite decided, and that's why I had put it away and decided to think about something else. So that is my number one item on my 9 along for 2023, is finishing off that jumper. The second thing I have started knitting is a pair of socks for my youngest son. And so for Christmas, I told all my kids that I've got 3 children. So I told them that they could all pick some yarn, and then I would knit them some socks during the year. So my youngest chose this one here, which is the opal yarn, and It is called Lollipop. And so I've got 2 balls of that. So he chose that one. And I just turn the sock around the right way. So I have finished one sock and I have started just the cuff of the second sock. Now I'm using 2mm bamboo needles, and actually I really like them. I usually prefer to do 2 at a time toe-up socks, but because this yarn being a patterned yarn, I thought it might be easier if I just go top down. And the other reason was I couldn't find my circular 2mm needle, large enough to put both the socks on. So I've obviously popped it away somewhere in a safe spot, and yeah, I didn't find it. So I thought, I'll just knit on the bamboo DPNs. There were originally 5 of these DPNs, but this one, when I found it, was a little bit squished. And you probably can't see it particularly well, but it is actually, does have a split in it. So unfortunately I won't be able to use that one again. So I just have to keep being really careful with these needles. But I finished one full sock for this year so far, and well on my way with the second sock. The other thing, so this is just a basic top down pattern with a heel, flap and gusset, and I have used 72 stitches, 2mm needles, and the interesting thing this time round is I am knitting these with negative ease. So usually when I knit a pair of socks, I would just knit them to fit the foot that I'm knitting them for, but because my son wanted these a bit tighter, I thought, okay, I will have a go with the negative ease, and they do fit him, and I do know that they will stretch a little bit over time, and because the rib as well has so much give in it. But I was a little bit unsure to begin with when I first started knitting these. I guess it's like any time you start knitting something with a slightly different gauge or a slightly different stitch count or anything, you kind of hope it's going to fit and that it's going to be okay, but it's turned out okay. It is fine. It fits him, so that's good. So there's my first pair of socks with negative ease to fit a bit tighter. The other thing I had knitted just before Christmas, which is not part of the knit along, but I did, on my list for last year was I wanted to knit myself the barbell hat, which I didn't get around to knitting, but I did knit this hat here instead, which is a free pattern on Ravelry if anyone's interested in looking for it. And so I had knitted this. It's a cabled hat, so I just quickly knitted that up for my dad for present for Christmas. So he got that, and I forgot to take a photo of it before I gave it to him. But hopefully later on I might get a photo of that and I'll be able to show it to you. So the next thing, the next part of the next knit along is going to be, of course, a pair of socks for my other 2 children and another pair of socks for my husband. So that'll be good. And then my daughter would like the Ranunculus sweater. So I had knitted one of these for myself last year with mohair and like an aqua coloured one strand of like an aqua wool. And so my daughter said she'd like hers in white. And there's a huge difference in the sizes between what I knitted for myself and what I will knit for my daughter, because she is petite. And so I actually went back on and had to re-download the new Ranunculus pattern, because it's got all the different sizes in it, whereas the original one that I had downloaded was just a one size fits all. So I downloaded the new Ranunculus pattern, and as I was saying earlier, I was hoping to use up some of my yarns and that have been up. Well, these were all sitting on my weaving shelf. So I haven't decided which. I've got the mohair, which I will be using from the cone, the same mohair that I used for my Ranunculus. So I will be using that one. And then I'm still deciding between which one of these two. So these are both wool, but of course this one is this is a Bendigo 3-ply in almond colour. And this one is a lace weight from the Wangaratta Woolen Mills. And it doesn't say what size it is. No, just says it's pure wool, but this is a lot lighter. So I am actually thinking that I will go with the lighter yarn with the mohair for her. Then I can go down in size as well in the needle. I'm just thinking that this 3-ply, I don't know, it might be a little too thick in terms of it might make the Ranunculus have a little less drape in it. So the fabric of the material of the jumper I think will be nicer with a thinner jumper. But I've got these out to kind of keep looking at them and decide. But that is another jumper that I will be starting when I finish my husband's jumper. Then I'll probably go on to the Ranunculus. And then I also want to knit for myself another Birkin. So I had knitted a blue Birkin last year from my handspun. This time I want to knit up the Birkin by Caitlin Hunter, but with a white background and the coloured yoke. So I'd like to do that. And I also have some blue handspun yarn left over from when I knitted the blue Birkin, and I would like I really like cardigans, so like this one here, but so I'd like to knit myself a blue cardigan. And so I haven't really decided yet what kind of pattern I'm going to do for that yet, but I'll decide. So that's and the other thing that I wanted to knit during the year sometime is during Christmas time. I had I've got a little, I guess she's about this big, a little knitted Mary and baby Jesus that I had made years ago, and that I had display every year when it comes around to Christmas. And then I realized when I was putting away the decorations this year that Mary had a hole in her. So Mary is at the moment, Mary and Jesus are in the freezer because I was concerned that there might have been a moth or something. I didn't see a moth, I didn't see anything, but it kind of looked like something had eaten it. Whether or not that had happened before we moved house, I don't know, because it was at the back, underneath where the cloak is. So, but I just thought as a precaution, I've put her in the freezer to try and make sure that there is absolutely nothing in her. no moths, no eggs, nothing whatsoever. I'm sure there's, I mean, like, as I said, I couldn't see anything. But there was definitely a hole. So just to be on the safe side, she's in the freezer, kind of making sure that everything's okay. But then I was thinking, I've got her in a plastic bag. She's in the freezer. And then I was thinking, well, I'll have to fix her. But then my other thought was, actually, maybe because I have had her for many, many, many years, maybe it's time to make a new Mary, knit a new Mary. And I never got around to doing Joseph or the other knitted nativity scenes. So maybe that's something I might work on, hopefully during the year. Yeah, so it'd be nice to have a think about that and maybe do a new Mary. So I think that in terms of knitting, that's the majority of what I would like to get done knitting wise. And then the next thing is to move on to my cross stitch. So at the moment I am working on the Plum Street sampler, the 1831 Christmas, which to me kind of, I mean, I love it because it's got the sheep on it. And to me, I kind of think of it more maybe as a winter display rather than an actual Christmas display. So this is where I'm up to at the moment. So that is number one that I want to finish off this year. Well, let's see if I can find somewhere to pop all of these. I'd like to finish off Buzz Off by Plum Street Sampler. So that's a nice kind of summary one to do. I don't know whether or not I will end up getting that finished. Oops, sorry. Before the end of summer or not, but I can try. There's a nice autumny one here, which is called, well, Cereal, this part of the Cereal Bowl collection, which is a lesson 4, and it says, be you to others kind and true as you would have others be to you. So I thought that would be a really nice autumn one. And then I have a few Christmas ones. So I'd like to finish Merry 1 to add to my Christmas display. I would like to add the Pomegranate Santa as well to my list. And then, if that's not enough, for Christmas I got, well, I bought them kind of supposedly from my children for me for Christmas, is the Prairie School 12 Days of Christmas. And I've already started to kit these up with some of my yarns that I already have. So each packet has got 4 days of Christmas, 4 patterns in them. I think I will be pushing it with all the other cross stitches to get all of them done, but I would be quite happy if maybe I could get at least 4 of those done before Christmas. That would be lovely. So I think that's about it for the cross stitches. I do have, like I was saying before, I do have some ideas for my spinning. I will just show you really, really quickly. I got this book for Christmas, the Yarn-E-Texture by Gillian Moreno. And I'll talk about this more on my next podcast, which will be the spinning podcast. So from this, I've got some, well, not just from this, but this, I mean, it's always great to have another spinning book. So this is a knitter's guide to spinning, building exactly the yarn you want. So this gives me some ideas of some spinning yarns that I'd like to do and make during the year. Like I was saying, I'd like to get through some of my raw fleeces and this might be a good way to work my way through some of those. I'm sure I can find 9 different yarns that I want to spin during the year. So that basically shows up everything that gives me a good plan for the year for 2023 for what I'd like to do. I have been watching a few bloggers who have also been talking about getting ready for the year, how they start off the year, how they choose what they're going to do, and how they kind of record what they're going to do. And one of the people I watched was Sweet Georgia, so Felecia at Sweet Georgia, and so she had a video about how I reset my creative project for the new year. I'm just looking over here because I've got my notes over here. So she was talking about looking at her physical space, her mental space, and her digital space. So I thought that was really nice. That was a really good kind of areas to look at and think about. And it's well worth going to have a look at her video where she talks about how she what she does at the beginning of each year and how she resets and looks at her stash as well. And I've also, Cherry Hart was talking about her journaling and her new year. And I've also been watching a little bit of This Wonderful Life and her kind of journaling and what's worked for her and what hasn't worked for her in the last year and what she's going to carry through to this year. So I think I might even need to start a bit more of a journal maybe of what I'm going to make and what's working and what's not working, so I can keep as I shouldn't say as creative, but I can keep making as much as I possibly can during the year to try and get my stash down and get through my list of things that I'd like to get done. And that I haven't even, and included in that, of course, I haven't even talked about the fact that I still want to finish off my Farmer's Wife sampler quilt. I want to finish off my Halloween quilt, and yes, and a few older projects that are basically finished, but I just haven't fully finished them off. So yeah, so they'll be in there as well. So I think that's about it, really. I think that's enough to start off 2023 with. So I hope everyone has had a great holiday season and a very safe new year. And I hope everyone is finding 2023 everything that they are hoping it was going to be. As you can probably tell from what I'm wearing, it's summer has arrived here. We've had some cold weather and some warm weather, but we have had some really, really good warm weather. There have been lots of people at the beach, and a lot of people enjoying surfing and swimming and all that. So and the garden is just beautiful at this time of the year. Everything is green and all the flowers are out and blooming. And as much as I want to be outside in the garden, I also want to be inside knitting and cross-stitching and doing all that kind of stuff as well. So it's just trying to fit everything in, and also at the same time just sitting back and enjoying everything that's happening. So I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you liked it, just give it the thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed, all those things. For those people who watched my Vlogmas videos, thank you. I really appreciate that. I know it's not everyone's taste. I know I've lost a few viewers over the Vlogmas time. Maybe they just didn't like the Vlogmas. I really enjoyed doing the Vlogmas videos. I learned a lot about videoing and finding new places to video and just had to do a quick editing and things like that. So yeah, I enjoyed the experience of that and found it quite fun. I think that's enough for now. Once again, thank you for joining me, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.